The ocean, one of the most beautiful and mysterious, as well as one of the scariest places a person can go. If something scary or unexplained has happened to you, submit it to submitscarystories@gmail.com to possibly be featured in an upcoming episode of Seriously Strange. A group of divers were embarking on a deep dive 200 feet below to see a sunken German U-boat. The man who recalls this traumatic event, an experienced diver, knew well the dangers of deep dives and the importance of decompression. He began to ascend towards the surface slowly after about 10 minutes of swimming around the old U-boat in order to minimize decompression. Ascending too quickly without acclimating when diving as far as they had been can result in a number of horrible things, such as a loss of consciousness and even death. Another couple that had also been diving, a father and his young son, still weren't coming back up as minutes continued to tick by. After 50 minutes went by and the father and son still weren't ascending, the captain of the diving boat sent the more experienced diver back down into the water to see if he could find the missing two. And he did find them, still at the U-boat, but in a deadly situation. The son had been trapped under a piece of metal, and his father was desperately trying to get his son free, frantic as any father would be. Spotting the danger and knowing that time was of the essence, he approached the two as quickly as possible and helped to get the boy free. But the diver noticed that the father and son were far from relieved. They were running out of air, and they were panicking. Their bodies, flooded with nitrogen, would not be able to handle a quick swim to the surface, but it was looking like that's where their thoughts were. The diver did everything he could to keep the two safe. Considering their air had become dangerously low, he shared his oxygen with them both while trying to keep them calm for their gradual ascent. But the moment that the son saw an opportunity, he bolted for the surface. Instinctively, the father took off after him. Knowing what would occur if they reached the surface too quickly, the diver reached out and managed to grab a hold of the father and tried to keep him down. But he broke free in a frenzy to reach his son. Nothing more could be done. The diver ascended behind them safely, but the moment he broke the surface, he knew something was very, very wrong. By the time the father and son were pulled onto the boat, the father was entirely unresponsive. The son was still alive, but struggling tremendously. The Coast Guard was called in by helicopter to help, but by the time they arrived, the father was already dead and too far gone to have a chance at being revived. His son, however, was still battling for his life. They got him onto the chopper, and the captain said they should leave immediately to save the son's life, as he didn't have much time left. But the Coast Guard demanded they also take the father's body on board, against the captain's advice. It took precious time to get the father's dead body into the chopper, as he was dead weight, and the surface of the water was very choppy, swaying the boat considerably back and forth. By the time the chopper got the father on board and proceeded to work on saving his son's life, the son had tragically died. It was a scarring moment that the diver will never forget. Despite his best efforts, fear had claimed the lives of two people that day. You never know when you dive beneath the surface of the water if you might just solve a mystery. A surfer had been missing for a few days, and despite efforts to find him, they turned up nothing. And getting lost in the ocean can lead to an endless hunt that could very well provide no results and no closure. But a group of friends who decided to go diving came face to face with a conclusion that everyone would dread. The friends were excited to dive in and explore whatever lurked in the waters. Among all the incredible things they witnessed, one thing stood out. Something that appeared to be a human body, and unfortunately for them, it was. The surfer who had been missing for a number of days had now just been found, but it wasn't merely just a body floating beneath the waves that disturbed them, it was the condition the body was in. It seemed like some of the ocean life had made a meal of the body. But it wasn't merely chewed at. The surfer had been wearing a wetsuit that left his arms, legs, and head exposed. It's unknown how he died exactly, but once he had spent enough time underwater and began to decompose, it attracted what was assumed to be crabs. Every bit of exposed flesh had been torn away, and the muscle beneath it as well. In only a matter of days, the exposed parts of the surfer's body had been stripped clean, so the divers encountered a torso with skeletal arms and legs and an exposed skull. Horrified, the team of friends promptly returned to the surface. Needless to say, the diving trip came to a rather abrupt end, and the surfer's loved ones found a rather morbid sense of closure. A diver tells a haunting story while going on a night dive with two of his close friends. While hunting prawns, the divers all hovered at around 100 feet deep. It was about 1 a.m, and the water was especially cold. Without lights, it was absolutely pitch black, a blackness so dark that it could really only be witnessed in the ocean. The friends had a certain practice that they would do when going out on night dives. The three of them would all get in a circle and turn off their lights, leaving themselves in utter darkness. They'd then stir up the water and watch as bioluminescent organisms glowed around them in a scene of absolute splendor. It felt like floating among the stars in the night sky. But an eerie surprise was lurking in that darkness, just waiting to be illuminated. The bioluminescence was just bright enough for each friend to see each other. The three divers all looked at one another, but they soon realized there was a fourth diver with them, sitting in their circle. Immediately, thoughts began running through their minds. Seeing other divers wasn't uncommon, but at 1 a.m. it was strange. Even stranger, they saw no one prepping at the dock above that divers used. They stared silently at the newcomer who didn't move. They noticed he had no gloves or fins on, yet he seemed to swim effortlessly to their location. The friends all wore dry suits because of how cold the water was, but this mysterious diver wore a wetsuit with exposed skin. The three friends also noticed a very large gash on one of the man's legs. They were speechless and far too scared to even make a move. That's when the man clearly smiled at them, waved, and then swam away, unhindered by the freezing temperatures, leaving them all terrified and unable to ever explain what exactly had happened. There was never any sign of another diver in the water, certainly none with such little equipment, somehow untouched by the harsh element of the cold. It was an unforgettable encounter that never accompanied an explanation. That's all for now. Remember, you may not believe it, but anything is possible in a world so seriously strange. This episode of Seriously Strange Into the Dark was brought to you by our sponsor, Skillshare, and they've got a gift for my audience. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of different classes that can teach you just about anything you want to learn. Their topics range from design to business to technology and so much more. They can even help you get started with a career on YouTube, offering classes in film and writing. And they're offering something awesome for all of you. The first 500 people who sign up using the link in the description below will get their first 2 months for free. Even if you pay, Skillshare is more affordable than most learning platforms out there. A yearly subscription costs less than $10 per month. And when it comes to learning valuable things that will help you develop your future and make money, Skillshare really pays for itself. Whether your interest is photography, entrepreneurship, game design, music production, or practically anything else, Skillshare is there to help you get to the next level. So don't wait. Tomorrow is for the taking. Be one of the first 500 people to sign up using the link in the description below and begin your first 2 months free with Skillshare. Thanks for listening. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to subscribe now because you won't want to miss what's next. And I'll see you next time.